welcome. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you all for being with us here tonight at our Insight program, Honoring Kirkland, Celebrating the Future. My name is Molly Madakovich, and I'm part of our Learning and Engagement Department here at the museum, and the organizer of our Insight program, and we've been on hiatus. If any of you were here in the spring of 2022, this was the last time we did an Insight program, and that was to celebrate, it was called Meet the Martin Building, and it was to celebrate the revitalization of the Martin Building across the street. And tonight, just about over 3 years later, we're gathering again to celebrate another milestone in the institution's growth. And this is the merger with the Kirkland, formerly known as the Kirkland Museum of Fine and Decorative Arts. The Kirkland has long been a gemstone of a museum, and I'm sure everyone in this room can agree, from its original location to the wonderful movement of that studio building over here to Bannock, and then the beautiful building that now sits across the street. And of course, this was co-founded by Hugh Grant and Merle Chambers back in 2003, and Mr. Grant curated that collection for many, many years. And who has not been charmed by just the wonderful objects and treasures that sit in that space that we can now enjoy in a new and expanded context? The joining of the Dam and the Kirkland has been an exciting and a very busy venture behind the scenes. Staff have worked tirelessly and creatively thinking about the collections, reconfiguring gallery spaces and content, and creating a family-friendly experience. And tonight it's my pleasure to introduce 4 staff members who you see here on the stage who have been front and center as part of this project. So from your right to left, we have Maya Wright, who is project manager for Kirkland Integration in the Department of Learning and Engagement. Next to her is Chris Herron, the associate director of exhibitions and collections for the Kirkland. Then Becca Goodrum, assistant curator of the Kirkland, and Darrin Alfred, who is the curator of architecture and design. And in the next 45 minutes or so ahead, we will learn about what this process and experience have looked like behind the scenes, and in so doing, I hope that you will all return or visit the Kirkland across the street for the first time with fresh perspectives and a deepened experience with that process and with that part of the museum. So thank you all for being here, and for our 4 fabulous staff members for sharing this behind the scenes look.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you all for being here. So Molly covered a little bit of our history, but I'm going to go through it with some beautiful pictures. So the Kirkland started as a private collection based on the estate of our namesake, Vance Kirkland, who was, in addition to running his own school and being a prolific artist, very involved with the Denver Art Museum during his lifetime. Kirkland left his estate to his friend and mentee, Hugh Grant, including his studio building, which you see here. And he used this as his art school and then studio space. It was built in 1911 until his death in 1981. Founders Hugh Grant and Merle Chambers built the collections and opened Kirkland Museum of Fine and Decorative Art in 2003. And there are 3 collection areas: Vance Kirkland's paintings, International Decorative Arts, and Colorado Art, all displayed together. We moved and opened in our beautiful building on Bannock Street in 2018, as Molly mentioned. And in May 2024, leadership of the Denver Art Museum and the Kirkland announced a merger, which began in October 1st, 2024. Beginning last fall, the 4 of us, as well as Stefania Van Dyke, Associate Director, Interpretive Engagement, and Eric Berkmeyer, Project Manager, formed a team to assess and implement the integration of the experience of the 2 institutions into one. So, 3 long-term Kirkland staff and 3 long-time DAM staff, now all DAM staff, joined together for this endeavor, and it's been really rewarding. So that's what we're going to talk about this evening. We began with the stipulations of the merger agreement and thinking about what was the Kirkland that really needed to be preserved. So, first, the Kirkland is a Gesamtkunstwerk. I just say that every chance I get. It's a German term that translates to a total work of art. So even though there are 3 distinct collections, it's really become its own whole in the way that it's displayed. Secondly, the 3 collections and the display style. It was decided that those would stay together and in the existing building. And of course, the best part, totally biased, Vance Kirkland's studio workroom. So it was really interesting for me to be part of this team. We treated the Kirkland using the process that the Denver Art Museum always uses to plan an exhibition. So even though it's not an exhibition, in a way it is, and we thought of it that way. So our charge for phase 1, as you can see here, was to assess and plan for a phased visitor experience at the Kirkland building that is safe, welcoming, engaging, aligns with Denver Art Museum priorities, and retains the Kirkland's character. And we came up with a big idea. So for phase 1, the Kirkland brings to life 150 years of artistic innovation, offering visitors of all ages an immersive journey through international decorative arts, Colorado's rich artistic heritage, and the visionary work of artist Vance Kirkland. So while this is not extremely controversial, except for perhaps the all ages part, it's helpful to have a stated big idea that we can always test anything against. So we use this as our grounding for the process.
And we did revisit that as we were going.
Yes, all of this was constantly checked back in on. Thank you. And along with that, we came up with visitor experience goals. So we hope that you will feel personally connected to the artworks while also feeling transported. We hope you'll be comfortable. And we hope you'll be inspired to think about and reflect on design and art in your own lives. So you can let us know later how we did with that. And then we came up with some specific strategies. So how do we leave it the heart of it as it was, while also making it more accessible? And so we started thinking about that. We also did a member survey in February, which some of you may have taken, to test our assumptions about what the members valued and to see if there were any suggestions that might impact our planning. And it was really helpful to hear what the Kirkland Legacy members, many of you, value. And then we thought about how we're going to tell the story that already existed and was very strong from the beginning, but that wasn't always made clear to everyone walking in the door how much thought had gone into it. And so we used the existing structure. Each room is still the same theme, and the curatorial vision of Hugh Grant, but we wanted to make it more visitor-friendly with more explanation. So here's a mock-up of our initial thoughts about adding wall panels to each gallery. That was pretty radical. Here's the intro panel. So we created a welcome lounge to the left of this and gave a little introduction, which we had never really done. Visitors got verbal introductions to the museum, but often the thought that we had put into it, which was pretty complex thought, was not easy to find for the average person that walked in the door. And then, so I was part of drafting those wall panels, which was exciting. And then I also worked with the team on an introductory tour on Bloomberg Connects, which we already had, but we expanded it. And it's now available on the Denver Art Museum's Bloomberg Connect site. So I hope you'll consider taking that tour. I think you'll hear a variety of really fun voices, including Hugh's and Vance Kirkland's and most of ours, and hear some fun stories behind the art. And one of the best things about Bloomberg Connects is you can do it in the museum, but you also can listen on your mobile device from anywhere in the world. Then I also helped with training the Denver Art Museum staff and gallery hosts and docents. And so all of that has been a really fun experience and really rewarding.
Thank you, Maya. So as we get into some of the collection, which I know will interest most, I think it's helpful to look back at some of the strategies. So text, breathing room, and activities were really probably the most oriented towards the work that Becca and I did with the collection. And those really provided a framework for the work that we were going to do. And so our mission was to address these goals and become accessible to all ages while not changing the character of Kirkland Museum. So not a real easy task, I can tell you, but we did put a lot of thought into it. And Maya mentioned Hugh, our founding director and curator, Hugh Grant. We thought about his vision for the museum every day, I can assure you that. And his display style and the layouts of the rooms and things like that were really a guide and just how to preserve that thinking without necessarily preserving those exact displays. So here we'll talk about text first. Our team decided early on that each of the major galleries was going to get a text panel. And we were going to explain what was happening in that room, the art movements that we were representing, and we were going to translate it into Spanish, which we had never done before. And we knew that was going to take up about 48 inches of text panel space. So we started there and thinking about in each gallery, where's the best place to put these? Where can we, carve out a 48-inch chunk of wall space and then, clear out the furniture. So we really, after making those decisions, we sort of built the displays of each room up around that. And that provided a good skeleton, I guess you could call it, for what we were doing.
Yeah, and so just to keep going on that, this strategy, Maya thought you'd find this picture funny because it doesn't look like we provided much breathing room here. I can assure you there is some breathing room in this gallery for groups to come and kiddos to come in and wander. But really, this picture I wanted to show because I wanted to assure people who have certain objects in the collection that they are in love with, like the Louis Margerel bed, those iconic pieces. Don't worry, they're still on view. And if there is something that you miss as you go through, I think one of the beautiful things about the merger is we have a little bit more time and resource that comes with a bigger staff. So rotations will happen and your favorite piece will come back, I promise.
Rotations were always difficult for us among the permanent collection galleries because we were always involved in the temporary exhibitions too. So it was always a balancing act for us to, how to address the permanent galleries while also doing the other work that we thought was necessary.
And this is the Postmodern Gallery 8 that you're looking at here. And this one, I would say, got a complete refresh, if you will. This gallery was difficult because look at all those touchable objects. Everyone wants to pet the pony, touch the apple, like kids and adults alike, curators, exhibition people. We all want to touch everything. So the strategy here was to put them on a little bit of a higher platform than you would normally see at Kirkland to try and alleviate some of those touches, just give you a little extra visual that we know you want to pet the pony, but please don't. And then more breathing room in this gallery as well, a little bit more room for groups. And then another consideration in all of the galleries was to make the Colorado art more era specific, so it better matches the decorative art that you'll see on the floor. So the rooms are more period specific, if you will. And that it was also Hugh's curatorial vision. So just continuing with that and trying to make that narrative a little tighter as well. Yeah. This is Art Deco Gallery 6. You'll see here, this is the French vignette, And something I think Hugh did really well in the vision of the time travel galleries is his comparative displays by country of origin. So like the Art Nouveau gallery, you have the French Art Nouveau and the Glasgow style and the Wiener Werkstätte. And we really wanted to do that in the other galleries as well. We found that a particularly compelling and successful curatorial vision. So in the Deco Gallery, this is our French vignette, and you see it's a low platform that we try and utilize at Kirkland because it still feels like a home. That platform is not super distracting, and this also allowed us to display this beautiful Art Deco rug in a way that we hadn't been able to before. You'll also notice the Dunant screen on the rug in the back of the picture there, and previously that was displayed almost like a painting on the wall, and now it's displayed more like a room divider screen, which allowed us to put another painting in the gallery. So that's a win on all fronts. And so this is the French, and in the other part of the room you'll see the American vignette when you visit, and then a little Polish section, other European Art Deco.
So here's another mock-up. This is the Welcome Gallery, or the Gallery 1, as we call it. So the text panel in here was explaining the three collections to visitors, which we never really did before on any wall text, and also the collecting style. So it sort of sets up visitors for what you're going to see in the rest of the museum. And then we found this great platform in the storage across the street at the dam, another perk of our merger. And you can see how we're thinking through, Becca and I are brainstorming, and what furniture pieces do we want to get out, what painting. You know, you haven't seen that Jean Matthews painting in 10 years, and you haven't seen the Wegener Papa Bear chair since we were at Pearl Street. So this really afforded us, or we were really taking the opportunity to bring out things that haven't been seen for a while. And the lower left, you can see that's us down in our storage vaults, and we're sort of assembling the pieces here to make sure it's going to fit on that platform, because we weren't really sure, but it did, and that's what we ended up with.
Okay, and speaking of breathing room, we also wanted to carry that into the beloved cases at Kirkland. And this was particularly difficult, I would say, just curation-wise. Like, what do you put away and what do you keep out? But I will say we were really just focused on duplicative displays. So we kept most of the designers and artists on view that were on view. We just maybe have 5 of their pieces out instead of 10. So just to give the objects in the cases a little bit more room to breathe, and for you to notice little things on the objects that maybe you weren't able to notice before. Also, an important part of the case project was grouping objects by country of origin, much like we did with the furniture. So it gives you another comparative display to look at in the museum. So on the left there, you'll see the French and Belgian Art Nouveau case. You'll see some favorite pieces there, I bet. And then the Austrian and German Art Nouveau case on the right. So it just carries forward that curatorial vision of the furniture into the cases. And then we thought you guys might like to see some new objects on view. Like Chris was mentioning, we had a real opportunity to get some things out of storage and new gifts out that we had received over the years. So this is a wonderful example, Hercule Borovier, Primavera Footed Bowl. And this is a really rare piece. Apparently Borovier kind of happened upon this technique by accident. That crackle, like almost frosted looking glass, and he made about 200 pieces and was never able to replicate it again, and neither has anyone else ever been able to do it again. So they're really rare, and it's really cool to have one. So this is on view in the Deco Gallery. I highly recommend going to visit. Dagobert
Pecca is an Austrian architect contemporary of Josef Hoffmann and Otto Wagner, and he became the director of the Wiener Werkstätte in 1915, so about the time he designed this vase. This is about 10 inches tall, really beautiful piece that's on display in the Nouveau Gallery right now with the rest of the Wiener Werkstätte stuff.
And then 2 more Josef Hoffmann pieces in the Wiener Werkstätte section that Chris just mentioned. We always have Josef Hoffmann on view, but these are 2 new incredible pieces, the ebonized bentwood vitrine and then the centerpiece bowl. And I like to show the 2 together because you can see when the Wiener Werkstätte was first founded around 1903, Josef Hoffmann was pretty focused on this geometric style with the ball joints. That was a pretty common motif for him to go back to. And then in his later career, you see 1924-25 is when he designed the centerpiece bowl. And that's when he gets a little bit more how maybe I would describe like a little bit more French Art Nouveau. So his style really evolved. Some people think it's because at first he was working with Coleman Moser and then he started working with Dagobert Pekka. So that could be one reason, but I like how his style kind of evolves, and you can see both in the gallery, so you can see how he changed. This is one of my favorite new pieces, Felix Aublay and Sonia Delaunay, Boule table lamp of chromed metal, 1925, and this was designed by Felix Aublay, and it's hard to tell in the photo, but the sphere base swivels in that claw-shaped foundation there, so you can move your light wherever it needs to spill and kind of arrange it however you need it, which is really cool. Felix and Sonia collaborated on a lot of projects in their career. Felix more the architect and designer, and Sonia would come in and do the patterning, which she was so well known for. So she did the chrome pattern on this vase. This is in the Art Deco gallery. And then a favorite of ours, Clarice Cliff. We've always shown Clarice Cliff, but recently, thanks to a very generous gift, our collection has been elevated. And these are 2 of the new pieces on view, the Triple Bonjour vase and the Age of Jazz centerpiece with these dancers here. And this is what Clarice Cliff is most known for. It's called Bazaar Ware. She was a star of the Art Deco era in the UK, and it's particularly important because she was a woman and was really more acting art director and entrepreneur at the time, which was really rare for that era. She's a star.
And some Colorado art. Dr. Joel Mosco was a full-time physician and also a very accomplished sculptor and painter. He was also a gallery owner. Some of you may remember in Cherry Creek, the Beaux Arts Gallery or the Community Art Gallery in the 1960s. He was founders of those 2. And this very generous gift from the Mosco family is now in our sculpture gallery. It's about 3 feet tall to the tip of his staff there. And speaking of our sculpture gallery, so one of the things we did was to engage families. We decided that that was really going to be one of our best places to do this. So that was going to necessitate some changes. We removed 2 display cases and 1 temporary wall from the north end of the gallery, which you'll see in a minute. And then as we were doing that, we're very concerned that we're losing, too much Colorado art. So we decided we were going to add the display cases you see in the photo here and also preserve a good section of wall space there. Wall space is always at a premium for us, and so we very deliberately left this large opening between the cases for this painting. And in this case, we have a Mark Travis painting that we've also never shown before. So I think this space turned out really well. And then further thinking about the Colorado art collection, because we were losing, Colorado art pieces in the sculpture gallery. So where could we relocate these in the rest of the museum? So we removed some decorative arts from the admissions desk and replaced it with Colorado art. And also you'll see along the bottom shelves in the welcome lounge there. you'll see some Colorado art there too. So very mindful. I'm proud to say we've kept pretty much the same number of Colorado artists on view. The number of artworks has gone down slightly, of course, but the number of artists represented on view has pretty much stayed the same through this whole process.
And then Maya kind of touched on this, but I just wanted to reassure anyone who loves this room, which we all do, and it's the heart and soul of the museum, and don't worry, we didn't touch it. Anything behind the ropes has stayed true to Vance, and it's like he just walked out of the room. That's how we like it. You will see some of the furniture behind the ropes has been removed to make room for text panels. And really, when we were curating this space, we were trying to think about accessibility. And it's a historic structure, so it's always been difficult for us in there. Night at the museums, in particular, is when we have our biggest crowds, and we were always having to remove art, getting crowds in there. So expecting crowds with the Denver Art Museum merger, we decided let's just remove some of those pieces, make it easier and more accessible for all people to enjoy the space, and be cognizant that we really do want school groups to sit in the workroom and kids to learn about Vance Kirkland. So we needed to make a little room for them to do that. Oh, yes. Thank you, Maya. Also, another rule we followed in the studio space for the decorative art was that we really wanted everything that was shown in the studio to be designed during Vance's lifetime. So there's nothing in there after 1981. So he didn't necessarily collect everything that you'll see in the studio, but he could have. And the labels will make clear the things that did belong to Vance. So if you are curious, that will be on the labels. And then the Colorado art in the studio, just to finish that thought, is all things, all people that Vance knew or had some sort of relationship to. Many of the pieces he owned personally, but any Colorado art we showed in the studio, they had some sort of relationship with Vance.
A lot of his contemporaries from the University of Denver and fellow teachers and things like that.
Yeah. Okay, and then just to end here, the merger provides a great opportunity for our two collections to be shown together. And this is the first time we tested that at the Kirkland. So we have a Breuer chair, a Mart Stam chair, and a Mies van der Rohe chair. The two on the outside are DAM collection, and the Mart Stam is Kirkland collection. And here we're telling a tubular metal cantilever chair story. And we really needed DAM's collection to tell that full story. And I think that's going to continue to serve us well, utilizing both collections because they complement each other so well. So the possibilities are endless.
Now I'm going to jump back in to talk a little bit about the family activities. So these were designed by Lindsay Genshaft and the other people that work in the family programs and education areas at the DAM, but Stefania and I were involved in helping revise the plans. So there are two areas now that are seating areas for all ages and activity areas for all ages, I would argue as well, but kind of rest zones. And so this is the Welcome Lounge. You can see our first mock-up on the left, which is a little bit different than how it turned out. Please go see it. This is an opportunity to make your own dot painting using color-formed dots. So my kid, of course, was the first to try it, so that's him in the bottom. So we made these backgrounds of actual Vance Kirkland oil paint and water paintings that you can then put these little vinyl dots on to make your own dot painting. And then the other area Chris already talked about is what used to be the north section of the sculpture gallery is now a really fun area where you can rest, and it's tea time o'clock. So we were able to display some of our mid-century modern clocks on the wall, and then we worked with local artist Donna Fasano to create this little comic-inspired seating area where you can play with flat versions of 4 tea sets in the Kirkland collection and then go find them in the galleries. So it's a really fun area for people to sit in. This is a illustration of some of those tea sets. And then my family trying it out. So that was really fun. And then the other thing that we worked with Lindsay on was a tour on Bloomberg Connects for families specifically. So in addition to the adult tour that I worked on, she wrote a tour called "Excuse Me, There's a Fly in My Art: Unusual Objects at the Kirkland." And so you can take a tour through the galleries that's designed specifically for families and learn about some of the most silly and unique pieces that we have on view.
Thanks, Maya. And thank you, Chris and Becca, as well. It's really been an honor to work alongside this team, well, the entire team, the three of you, Stefania and Eric. And what you've just shared, from the origins of the Kirkland to the interpretive planning and all the work behind the scenes, lays, I think, such an important foundation for what I want to talk about next. I'll be sharing a bit more about how this merger fits into the broader institutional picture, especially through the lens of the DAM's design collection and our shared future moving forward. So this merger isn't just a structural change, as these three have started to explain. I see it as really a transformative moment for Denver. Together, we now offer something truly exceptional, a unified world-class destination for the presentation and celebration of design. So with nearly 30,000 decorative arts and design objects now under one institutional roof, we've really created a resource that's unmatched in the American West. And honestly, very few cities in the United States can claim this depth, this breadth, or even this kind of historical range in design all on one campus. In fact, I'm told that Denver currently offers one of the most comprehensive presentations of 20th century design on view anywhere in the country. So this history of collaboration, I think it's really important to remember this integration builds on a strong foundation. For years, the Denver Art Museum and the Kirkland collaborated in meaningful ways. Just through my lens, back in 2018, I co-curated the exhibition Serious Play, Design in Mid-Century America with the Milwaukee Art Museum, and we included numerous loans from the Kirkland. And then more recently, Gio Ponti, designer of 1,000 Talents, which is currently on view on the second floor of the Martin Building, also features important objects from the Kirkland as well. And I think both of these exhibitions really underscore how valuable these works are to broader design narratives. And these, again, it's really just two examples from my time at the museum that show how closely aligned I think our goals and missions have long been. So the Denver Art Museum's, just for a little background, Department of Architecture and Design was established in 1990, and recognizing that Denver was sort of a relatively young city, it really developed in the post-war era, the department focused on collecting post-war and contemporary design, and that foundational vision laid the groundwork for what is now a vibrant, globally aware collection. Today, the Architecture and Design Department holds more than 19,000 objects spanning 5 centuries and over 30 countries, and it's now the museum's largest collection, as you can see in this little pie graph. In 2001, I led the development of the museum's expanded design galleries, over 11,000 square feet of new and renovated space designed by OMA in New York. These galleries are thematic, they're cross-cultural, and they're really designed to evolve and change over time. And they now exist alongside the Kirkland galleries, offering visitors, I think, 2 really powerful ways to experience design here at the Denver Art Museum. These sort of complementary strengths, I guess, one thing that I want to emphasize is that this integration isn't about duplication. It's about depth, about continuity, and context. I mean, the Kirkland's collection really shines in the late 19th and mid 20th century with particular strengths in arts and crafts, Arts Nouveau, Art Deco, and early modern design. Meanwhile, my department's collection focuses on post-World War II to the present, with a strong international scope that includes Latin America, Asia, and Africa, to just name a few. And together, these strengths now really form one of the most comprehensive decorative arts and design collections in the country, all under one institutional vision. So what's also exciting is how, actually I should probably explain this graph. This was a sort of a information graphic an intern of mine helped me work on back in 2010 as we were starting to understand the collection, the design collection here at the Dam. So you see it sort of moving from the 16th century all the way up to the 21st century. And I think this really shows how the Dam's architecture and design department collection really has strengths in that 20th and 21st century. And sort of then when you think about sort of the Kirkland's collection filling in those gaps earlier on in time. What's also sort of exciting is how the interpretive approaches at both of these galleries really complement each other. The Kirkland offers, I think, an immersive domestic scale experience that celebrates design as part of everyday life. The Dam's thematic design galleries invite broader cross-cultural connections across time, material, and geography. And together, these two approaches create a more holistic, a more layered experience for visitors, and I think a richer story overall. So looking ahead, this is a new chapter, one built, I think, on mutual respect, shared purpose, and a common belief in the power of art and design to inspire and connect. We're committed to honoring the legacy of the Kirkland while integrating its strengths into the broader mission of the Denver Art Museum. I think the potential here is enormous, and we really only started. There's a lot more to come, so thank you.
Can you go to the next slide and I'll
Yes,
talk?
yeah.
So one of the next things, which we hope you'll join us for, this is sort of the soft launch time of this phase one. We're doing a lot of evaluation over the summer, seeing how this works with visitors of all ages, perhaps larger crowds, especially on free days. And the public celebration of this work we've all been doing is the block party. So please come on Sunday, July 27th, all day. The Denver Art Museum will be free, including the Kirkland. We will have a member hour and a ribbon joining to celebrate our connection. And we're hoping to close Bannock from 12th to 13th and have a big block party throughout the day. So we hope you'll join us for that. And that's really just the beginning. So this is the phase one plan, and then we're working on prototyped labels for the next stage, some possible temporary exhibitions, all kinds of things are still coming. This is just the initial work that we've done, and we're really proud of it. So now we're ready to take questions.
Okay, so can I ask, is it all right if I ask a question? Sorry.
I think that's allowed.
I know,
ahead.
I'm just really interested to hear from Maya, Chris, and Becca. Something that I've been thinking about throughout this process is, are there certain things that were sort of rewarding? Like, what would be the most rewarding part of this sort of integration process that we've sort of worked on thus far, and what might have been like the most challenging component to that integration process? They could be
That's
one
a big
and the
question.
same.
I will say, for me, this is probably the obvious answer, but going from a team where it was really the three of us making basically the big decisions, we maybe had to run them by one other person, and then immediately the new tag went out or the new website was updated because we did it. going from that to, a wallboard process where Stefania and I wrote the initial draft, then the other 6 people all made revisions, then it went through publications department, translation, the director, all of the other people that review things, which totally improved them. I think it was really for the benefit of the text, but it was a change. So that was a challenge just to adapt to, not necessarily a bad one. I found it super interesting. Rewarding, I think being able to share the knowledge I've accumulated over so many years with the docents and staff here, and then on the Bloomberg tour was really rewarding.
I mean, I've learned so much of that
Thank
history
you.
over the time working together, so I appreciate that.
I think the reward for me is just to continue to work with this collection. I've been with the Kirkland now for 20 years, and it just continues to amaze me. And I mentioned, like the Papa Bear chair, things like that. I love to be able to pull that out of storage and present it to you all, being able to share this collection with everyone.
Speaking of that, the basement of your
Can you wait till
okay. The basement of your previous building, where you could go down and see the screens and the collections and all, that was really cool. Is there a basement in this building?
Yeah, and it's all storage downstairs, but it's really difficult to get people in and out. We tried it a couple times right after we moved in, and it just was not designed for traffic flow, unfortunately. So there are no plans to revisit that idea. We did talk about it a lot during the move, but it just didn't work out.
I'll say my reward because I have to say it. I think the most challenging part. Let's start with the bad news first, right? I think it was just change is hard. So even if it's like a good change, it's just hard, and like it's a little bit challenging to go through those things. But the reward was so much better than the challenge because I think just getting to meet all the staff members at DAM and getting access to their expertise during this transition was just so invaluable. And Stefania and Darrin and everyone that we worked closely with, we could have used you guys this whole time. So we really appreciate your help. And that's been the most rewarding part. The DAM is just this machine, and they hire such great experts. And Kirkland does too. But we were small but mighty staff. So now it's nice to be like big and mighty. That's fun.
Everyone has been so kind. Everyone. Who else has a question? If you raise your hand, they'll bring you a microphone.
The question I would have is, I've been to the basement of the Kirkland, so I know the treasures that you have. And what I would like to ask, is there any plan of having rotations of different artists? You have an excellent collection of Sandersons. You have Edgar Britton bronzes that are just unbelievable. Things like that. Are there any chances that you're going to have galleries change quicker? The last one that was there, I forgot what it was, the Art Deco, or the one that's still there. It's been there for so long that a lot of us have seen it many times and we're ready for something else. Is there any plans to maybe speed that up a little bit?
Well, I just
Really
have to
get into
quickly
the
say there's going to
basement?
be new dresses in that exhibition soon.
Yeah,
so you should all go
tomorrow.
back after tomorrow. You go ahead.
I just quickly providing context for why the exhibition has been up for as long as it has. That, as you might imagine, this has been a huge undertaking by 6 people, 3 from the Kirkland and 3 from the DAM, and a full and as you described, is almost thinking about it as an exhibition in of itself. So extending the run of Vanity and Vice allowed us to be able to focus on this first phase, but I know today, in fact, we've been talking about, Becca and Chris have been talking about projects for both what are the new names for the gallery?
Grant
The Hugh
Gallery,
Grant
which is the one Vanity and Vice is in.
Yeah, as well as potential utilization of where the video room is at the end of the studio as well. So also making that an opportunity, a space for showing the kinds of things that you're talking about. But I'll let Chris and Becca jump into that.
And I just want to jump in and say that we are also, I think, for the first time able to maybe rotate things in and out of the permanent galleries as well, which is where many of the things that you mentioned might find a better home. Just with bigger staff, more opportunities arise for us to get things out of storage. And, before the merger, we had wanted to do a big rotation of the permanent galleries, that we were planning one, but we kept pushing it off a little bit because we were such a small staff, and that undertaking was a little too much for us at the time. So I think that you'll see with the merger, things will rotate, and not only in the temporary gallery spaces, but in the permanent galleries as well. You'll see us get new gifts on view and things that you haven't seen in years back on view, as we just have more time and resources to do so.
Yeah, just to put a fine point on that, these two people redisplayed basically the entire museum in the last 8 months. So you can give them a little bit of time to get the temporary gallery together.
Yeah.
But that is our hope. I mean, we want to rotate faster than we have been doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you might find that there might be opportunities to view objects from the Kirkland and DAM's galleries in these buildings elsewhere on this campus as well. So there's really an opportunity, I think, for this sort of cross-departmental curatorial department, whether that's JR in the Department of American Western Art, or Rory in modern and contemporary, or myself in architecture and design, working with Becca and Chris on sort of cross-collaborative kind of presentations, not just within the Kirkland, but in all of our buildings down the road.
One of my favorite experiences at the Kirkland was when you had an evening open house, really an open evening for members. And so many objects were open and being also demonstrated. And Chris had this marvelous game table open. It was from Yemen. It was intricately designed and carved. And it opened the doors, and then those doors opened and more. And there were drawers, and it was so fascinating. And it was from this country that we think is so behind and is only interested in more. And I just found this a beautiful, moving experience. And I hope you, with new staff, you'll be able to demonstrate some of these beautiful things that you have in the collection more often, and show people what you really have. So thank you so much for that experience.
Yeah, I think the programming is one of the things coming in the next few phases, and it is also exciting to me to not only have more staff, but also have a huge, amazing team of docents that can do, one of the great programs at the DAM is Spotlight Talks, where they get to choose a piece or pieces to talk about. And so I think there'll be even more of that kind of thing, including at the block party.
Good plug.
All right. Come one, come all. Any more questions? One in the back. Couple.
You guys have done a fantastic job on this project. And you've also now have the opportunity to have a new demographic with the age restriction being lifted. So I'm curious what the museum is doing to really bridge that experience and let parents and kids alike know that they have access, and how to also get to the Kirkland from the dam as well.
Yeah, we're talking through all of those things. The physically getting to the museum was something that we talked about. I think there are little plaques up right now.
I saw one today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
new wayfinding signage. Look for it. They're golden on the lampposts.
Yeah. So we're but this, like Maya mentioned, we're kind of like soft opening all of these things. So everything's still kind of prototype phase, and we're just seeing if it works. And then we will hard launch, if you will, July 27th. So that's when I hope that you will see it spread all over the news and us shouting it from the rooftops that all ages can visit Kirkland. But right now, like, if you're in the know, we love it. Please visit because we want to test things out. But we'll be like going gangbusters hopefully by the end of the summer, and hopefully everyone will know, and everyone will know how to get to our building, and all those little kinks will be worked out for the most part.
So you've all been deputized. It's your job to share the word.
Has everyone here been over there lately? No?
The museum is open, including the Kirkland, till 8 p.m. tonight. So you might stop by on your way out, or visit another day. We would love to hear your feedback.
I have a couple of practical questions. Where do we park?
We still have a lot at Kirkland, at the Kirkland. So there's a lot to the west side of our building. You can still park there. I don't know the rate.
Is it a parking lot or is it?
It's a parking lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
You
then there's
access
the-
it through the alley between Bannock and Cherokee.
Yeah.
It's
And
on the
there's-
west side of the museum.
The west side. Yeah. Okay.
And there's the cultural parking facility located off of 11th? 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, 12. Between Acoma Plaza and Broadway.
And Broadway.
Yeah.
My second question is access to handicapped people and elderly people. I'm just wondering, how does that work? Okay.
Well, we would love for you to try
Yeah.
it and let us know, but that was very much taken into account. So when we say accessible, we've been talking a lot about children, but it's really not about children. It's about larger crowds of people, all ages of people, people with all differing abilities, and also more languages. So we have all of the wall panels are translated into Spanish. Just accessible in every meaning of the term, we hope. So every space should be easier to navigate than it was previously.
Historic studio is still a challenge because it's a historic structure, but we're really cognizant and wanted to make sure that all abilities could get through that space. So and then there will be an accessibility video. So if you didn't feel like you could get through the historic structure that easily, there'll be a video of someone walking you through that space so that you can still experience it just like anybody else. So we're working on that. Hopefully that will come later this summer.
So just to reiterate, every policy of the Denver Art Museum now applies to the Kirkland. So it's all ADA accessible. We have museum stools everywhere. Every rule and policy is the same in all of the Denver Art Museum buildings.
We had a couple of friends come down and they went to that museum and they couldn't get a ticket. They said they had to come over here. Is that true?
No,
That's not
No.
true.
that's not true.
Oh, well,
Hopefully
that's.
that was just a bad day or something.
Okay, that's good because they were really discouraged.
No,
They
you
thought-
can buy your ticket either in this building or in the Kirkland building, and they still work both ways.
Yeah,
Great.
same with memberships as well.
Okay, that's good. They will be glad to hear that.
Yeah, you can start in any of the buildings on the Denver Art Museum campus, and then that allows you, your ticket allows you into all of the others
Oh,
as well.
that's great. They'll be glad. Because they were disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. There have been a few kinks to work through. Obviously, training a whole new staff on a whole new building is a big deal, but hopefully that's all been worked out.
Okay. We are at just about time. I want to thank all four of you and the extended team who's here today for just the deep care you've taken on this project with. Comes through with the lovely pictures, the interesting stories, and just the thoughtfulness that comes through in the way you talk about the process of this merger and the excitement that we all have to look forward to as ongoing phases of this evolution continues. So as a DAM employee, it's exciting for me to learn more about the Kirkland, and I'm sure for those of you who have been Kirkland members or DAM members all this time, this has been a great opportunity to get to know these histories, to get to understand a little bit better the why and the what behind what's been going on, and to just celebrate moving forward together and enjoying this beautiful new space that we can all enjoy moving ahead. So thank you all for being here, and make a trip over or join us at the block party next month.
Thank you.